Welcome back, press fans. Coming to you from Altman Studios in downtown Brentwood to your ears wherever you are, this is Clocked In with the Press. I'm Melissa Van Rooten, here with press editor Kyle Szymanski on sports.
Hello.
Today, we'll be talking about California's response to the recent school shooting in Texas, a deadly home invasion, and DUI charges being brought against Antioch Mayor Lamar Thorpe, among other things. But first, let's hear a word from this episode's sponsor.
This episode of Clocked In with the Press is sponsored by Bill Brandt Ford at 8100 Brentwood Boulevard, right here in Brentwood. For award-winning sales, service, and all your Ford needs, think Bill Brandt Ford at 8100 Brentwood Boulevard.
Thanks so much, and jumping right in. Following a mass shooting at an elementary school in Texas that left at least 19 children and 2 adults dead Tuesday, Governor Gavin Newsom, Senate President pro tempore Tony G. Atkins, and Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon announced California will expedite common-sense gun safety laws that will protect people from gun violence. California will not stand by as kids across the country are gunned down, Governor Newsom said. Guns are now the leading cause of death for kids in America, while the U.S. Senate stands idly by and activist federal judges strike down common-sense gun laws across our nation. California will act with the urgency this crisis demands. The Second Amendment is not a suicide pact. We will not let one more day go by without taking actions to save lives. California Attorney General Rob Bonta said, "There have been more mass shootings in the U.S. in 2022 than days in the year. In California, we refuse to accept the current norm. We will continue to call on our federal leaders and neighboring states to do more because our nation's current standard for preventing gun violence is unacceptable. Our children should not suffer this burden. Active shooter drills, metal detectors, and schools that look like prisons are not the answer. We need common sense gun safety laws. We are sick and tired of seeing young and promising lives cut short due to gun violence. We at the California Department of Justice and leaders throughout California know that addressing gun violence is critical to public safety. As your Attorney General, I vow to do much more than send thoughts and prayers. I will use the full force of the law and my office to end gun violence." An initial package of bills the governor has committed to signing include AB 2571, which restricts advertising of firearms to minors, AB 1621, restricts ghost guns and the parts and kits used to build them. SB 1327 creates private right of action to limit spread of illegal assault weapons and ghost guns. And AB 1594 allows governments and victims of gun violence to sue manufacturers and sellers of firearms. Governor Newsom and legislative leaders will continue working together to expedite additional bills pending before the legislature aimed at curbing gun violence and increasing safety in California communities. Yesterday was a difficult day.
Yeah, without question.
My oldest is homeschooled, but my younger two go to a school that it could be Uvalde, with the student count and the community size and, looking at the faces of these babies. They're my kids' classmates and friends. A sheriff was parked out front when I dropped the boys off yesterday, and I just cried all the way into the office because I was a senior in high school when Columbine happened. Nothing has changed, and it's infuriating. And, I'm not anti-gun. I am progressive, but I don't, I definitely know that they have a place. But there's nothing wrong with moving towards common sense gun laws. Will it stop every crime? Probably not. But, the hope is that we don't have to endure something else like this, that these families don't have to endure something as horrific. And just thinking in the past 2 weeks, this one was a school, and then there's Buffalo and a church in Southern California. And those are just the ones that we heard about, so I'm pretty incensed. I'm feeling some kind of way. How about you?
Well, I don't think I could have said it better. And simply put, I think these laws are a step in the right direction. Now let's hope it spreads to the national level because, quite frankly, something needs to be done. End of story. So hopefully this is the start of something that can spread to the national level.
Year after year for nearly the last decade, California has endured its, quote, worst fire season in history. The last 2 years have seen both the most destructive wildfire season in 2020 and 2021's largest individual wildfire in the state's history. In 2021, over 3 million acres, a total nearly the size of Connecticut, burned, according to ClimateWire.com. The previous year still holds the record, however, with a total of 4.3 million acres ravaged by wildfire. The CAL FIRE and U.S. Forest Service combined number of fires for 2022 have already reached 2,021, with 9,152 acres burned, according to CAL FIRE's website. The culprit? Climate change. Wildfire season, which has traditionally been from May to October, has begun creeping earlier and extending longer each year, according to some climate experts, who suggest that California is now in a perpetual fire season because of little rain, rising global temperatures, and parched vegetation. There's no season anymore, said East Contra Costa Fire Protection District Battalion Chief Ross McCumber. It's all year round, with drought, especially in Northern California. We're not quite used to a year-round fire season, but it's here. McCumber is a 26-year veteran who says he's watched the drought-driven change occur. When I first started in the fire service, red flag days in May were very uncommon, McCumber said. I think we've had them for the last 3 years straight. According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, 93% of California is in severe or extreme drought. When that is coupled with last winter's snowpack measuring 63% of the average by March 1st, 2022, it creates conditions for disaster. Even the rain around the first of this year didn't help reduce the problem. The resulting little grass and vegetation growth quite literally added fuel to the fire. California is also facing a massive backlog of forest management work, numbering in the millions of acres, according to California's Department of Forestry and Fire Protection's 2019 Community Wildfire Prevention and Mitigation Report. The report also states that decades of fire suppression have disrupted natural fire cycles and added to the problem. In April 2021, Governor Gavin Newsom signed Senate Bill 85, which provided a $536 million wildfire package enabling the state to take urgent action on projects that support wildfire suppression, improve forest health, and build resilience in communities to help protect residents and property from catastrophic wildfires in diverse landscapes across the state, according to a press release from the governor's office. Some of the money is designated for spearheading sustainable approaches to thinning California's vulnerable landscapes. In March, Newsom authorized $80.74 million in emergency funds for 1,399 additional firefighters with CAL FIRE to bolster fuels management and wildfire response efforts. Contra Costa Fire Protection District, otherwise known as CONFIRE, has been working to reduce risk on a piece of refinery property owned by Phillips 66 in Rodeo. McCumber stresses how difficult initiating a controlled burn can be. Controlled burns are done to burn vegetation that can be the fuel for a wildfire. Quote, "You have to have the right weather," he said. "You have to have everything lined up ready to do that burn. You really only want to spend a half day doing it, so the fuels don't heat up mid-afternoon. To line that up becomes incredibly difficult." Because of perpetual fire weather patterns up and down the state, the goal has been to burn more acres every year, McCumber added, but the timing of it is incredibly difficult now because of this overlap of where it's either incredibly wet for that brief period in the winter and it goes to being incredibly dry within weeks because of the wind, because of the heat, mostly because of the wind. So we lose those windows. While the major wildfire concern looks a little different in East County than it does in more heavily forested areas like the Sierra foothills or national forests, the risk is still there, and it's not any less dangerous. McCumber says that thinking otherwise can instill a false sense of security. There is a decent amount of wildland-urban interface component, especially in the Marsh Creek-Morgan Territory area. There are also large pockets of grass abutting major residential areas. The Fire Prevention Bureau encourages cities to maintain areas of vegetation in order to cut down on potential fuel, and in doing so, local vegetation fires were down 30% in 2021. This is mostly attributed to the Prevention Bureau being able to enforce rules, laws, and codes on land management. I know that we've talked about it before. We had a fantastic interview with Chief McCumber here on the podcast. He outlined some of the steps you can take to prepare your home for wildfire season, But now it's sounding like you just need to have these things done year round, and they talk about defensible space and home hardening, make sure your gutters are clean. Basically, don't have anything going on in your yard that could potentially spark, because it can get very dangerous around here. We don't have as many of the trees, but we have houses that are close together. And he even recalled again, when I was talking to him for this article, there was a house fire last October, right? It was pretty dicey. It started with the structure fire, but then sparks blew into other backyards, and they had to rely on a ton of mutual aid to come in and keep it from spreading, because it was, even though it wasn't a very hot day, it was insanely windy. That's something that we have to think about here. It's definitely not out of the question that we could have an event like Santa Rosa had a few years ago here in Brentwood. So we just need to be on top of things. Speaking of fires, a grass fire that spread to a neighboring outbuilding on the 700 block of Anderson Avenue in Brentwood quickly spread across multiple yards before being extinguished by East Contra Costa Fire Protection District personnel on Monday, May 23rd. The one outbuilding suffered minor damage, but no primary residences were damaged, according to Fire Marshal Steve Aubert. The cause of the fire is still under investigation.
It's a good thing the firefighters got there quickly, and I'm just going to say it again. People need to take those individual steps to prevent wildfires, because you never know when something small is going to grow to something big.
2 words: professional goats. Hire you some professional goats. They'll come mow your lawn for you, or your back 40 or whatever you have on your property, and you get to watch cute goats all day. Come on, it's win-win, right? And they get to eat. A man was seriously injured, and the horse he was riding died after the pair were struck by a suspected drunken driver on Delta Road and Pasture Lane in Knightson late Friday night, May 20th. California Highway Patrol Officer Adam Lane said an unidentified man was driving a Toyota Corolla eastbound on Delta Road around 9:50 p.m. when he hit the rider from behind, throwing him off the horse and killing the animal. The CHP declined to identify the driver. The rider, believed to be in his mid-20s, was airlifted to John Muir Medical Center in Walnut Creek with major injuries, but was in stable condition as of Tuesday afternoon, authorities said. Moving into Discovery Bay, authorities are searching for the people who vandalized several trees on Clipper Drive in Discovery Bay. The incident was discovered by the town's landscaping crew on May 6th and reported to the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department. Recreation Program Supervisor Monica Gallo said someone completely cut down to the stump 2 trees and then hacked away 2 houses worth of trees. Gallo received a call from the landscapers that something had happened and went to investigate. As she pulled up to the 4300 block of Clipper Drive, Gallo said she was horrified at what she found. They left debris and tree branches all over the place, she said. They just hacked away at the trees left standing. It's terrible. It's disheartening that people are just taking it upon themselves to do this. Discovery Bay General Manager Dina Breitstein said she was unaware of any complaints made by residents about the trees hanging over property lines. She noted if someone had complained, the town would have worked with them to ensure proper trimming of branches. Graffiti at both Cornell Park and Slifer Park has also been a big issue lately, with the town footing the bill to repaint tables and benches after they had been covered with obscene words and images. Lieutenant Mark Johnson, Delta Station Commander, said his department is looking into the issues and will follow up on any leads. If you see someone vandalizing property, call the Sheriff's non-emergency dispatch at 925-646-2441, or if you have to report problems to the town, call 925-634-1131. Also in Discovery Bay, developer Lodgepole Industries, LLC, has broken ground on Newport Point, a new 20-acre development in Discovery Bay. Situated between Bixler Road and Newport Drive, the site will include 67 homes. The neighborhood plan was originally approved by the county in 2013, with the final map being approved in 2019. The development will include high and medium-density homes, as well as open space and parks and recreation. The map submitted to the county includes a dog park. Discovery Bay General Manager Dina Breitstein noted that though work has begun, the town has no land use authority and all plans go through the county. And then bringing it back to Brentwood. A blown transformer at the intersection of Balfour Road and Fairview Avenue in Brentwood caused around 9,000 people to lose power for an undetermined amount of time on May 24th. Smoke and flames could be seen pouring out of the area of the blown transformer at about 7:15 p.m. East Contra Costa Fire Protection District and Pacific Gas and Electric crews quickly arrived to secure the area, preventing damage to surrounding buildings. No injuries were reported, but traffic was delayed in the area. As of early May 25th, the PG&E outage map showed power was restored to customers after it was out for an undetermined amount of time. The incident occurred in the middle of Game 4 of the televised NBA Western Conference Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks. Quote, during a big playoff game like we have going on right now with the Warriors, it's a horrible time to lose your power, but all crews are safe, the public is safe, and we have PG&E on scene, said East Contra Costa Fire Protection District Battalion Chief Gil Guerrero. Crews were still investigating the cause. Let's hear another word from today's sponsor, but stick with us because when we come back, we'll have all the sports coverage and then we'll be discussing our top news stories of the week.
Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Bill Brandt Ford at 8100 Brentwood Boulevard. Speaking personally, I've used the Service Center at Bill Brandt Ford several times, and I've always been impressed by their commitment to the customer. I used to have this real lemon of a Ford Fusion that I bought from a less reputable dealer, and Dave, the service advisor at Bill Brandt, moved mountains to keep that thing running. My younger sister bought a car from Bill Brandt a couple years ago, and their finance department worked with her budget, and now she drives a nicer car than me. But don't just take my word for it. Bill Brandt Ford is the recipient of the prestigious President's Award from the Ford Motor Company. Only 340 of the roughly 5,000 dealerships nationwide can say the same. Locally, the community has voted them Best of Brentwood for sales and service. Bill Brandt aims to give customers the best dealership experience possible. So what are you waiting for? Give them a call today at 925-634-3551 for all your sales and service needs, or visit BillBrandtFord.com. That's Bill, B-R-A-N-D-T, Ford.com.
A recurring theme of this podcast, at least the sports section all season, has been the potential of the Heritage softball team, and they're making me look like quite the psychic. They advanced the North Coast section title game against Granada this week. Heritage advanced with wins over Monte Vista and Clayton Valley Charter by scores of 12-7 and 5-3, then hung on for a 1-0 win over Vintage from Napa. It was a tight game. It was 0-0 heading into the bottom of the sixth, and when Tiana Bell hit an RBI single that scored Ella Jenkins to give the Patriots a 1-0 lead. And in the circle, Casey Aranagua was pretty much close to perfect. She threw a no-hitter. There was one drop third strike that caused her to not have a perfect game. But end of story. They're headed to the North Coast Section Championship game against Granada in Livermore tomorrow, May 27th at 5 p.m. in Livermore. The Liberty baseball team, meanwhile, advanced to the North Coast Section semifinals, but ran into a superior De La Salle squad. The Spartans poured it on early, unfortunately, and opened up an 8-0 lead in the third inning, and Liberty's bats just could not get anything going as De La Salle went on to an 11-0 lead.
Well, that's definitely a bummer for Liberty, but awesome for Heritage. Get it?
My psychic predictions are out the window now, because I cannot tell you who's going to win this game tomorrow. It's Granada's the number 1 seed. Heritage is the number 2 seed. It's probably going to be a little hot. I don't know if that's going to come into play, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Either way, it sounds like it's going to be a phenomenal game.
I couldn't agree more. All right, let's head to the track, where Heritage, Antioch, and Freedom will be sending representatives to the state championship track meet in Clovis this weekend. The lone Patriot to qualify in the individual event was junior Kimora McLemore. Her throw of 38 feet and a half inch in the girls' shot put was good enough to earn her a spot at the state meet. The Patriots also qualified in the boys 4x400 relay. Antioch had qualifiers in 2 events, both individual, with senior Daisy Hart. She'll be competing with McLemore in the girls' shot put, and she qualified with a throw of 38 feet. She finished second at the North Coast section meet, while McLemore was third. And fellow senior Jorge Hernandez will also be at the state meet, qualifying in the boys' triple jump. The remaining BVAL qualifier is Freedom's 4x100 boys relay team.
We already know my thoughts on running, but good luck to all of them.
Yeah, speaking of heat, it's always hot down there in Clovis, so this is where I think heat could come into play, but hey, if you reach the state meet, that means you're a superior athlete and you're a track star, so anything can happen. Let's see if maybe we can bring home some state titles. Switching sports here, 2 riders from the East County Shred composite mountain bike team recently competed in the Northern California High School Cycling League finals at Six Sigma in Lower Lake. Austin Keppert, a senior from Liberty High School, and Parker Simpson, a independent study student, both took part in the race. Both these riders had to qualify to compete in this race, and they raced against teams from all regions of Northern California. The race signaled the end of the season for the East County Shred, but they are always looking for riders. And so anyone interested in mountain biking can email eastcountyshred@gmail.com.
Please don't tell my boys.
This is another good opportunity. I know we try to spread out the sports on this show, but I did a story on the East County Shred not that long ago, and they take beginners all the way up to advanced riders. You don't even need to have a mountain bike. They will donate one for you. They prefer that you have one because it obviously makes it difficult for the organization to find bikes for everybody.
Sure.
But if you want to ride and you want to get out in nature, have a little fun while you're at it.
Break a few bones,
Hopefully not.
No, that's really cool. I don't even think I realized that there was a mountain bike team. So for high school, that is not something that we had back east. So very cool. Very cool.
And for those who like to be on the water, Major League Fishing, the world's largest tournament fishing organization, is gearing up for the Toyota Series presented by ARE at the California Delta at Russo's Marina on Bethel Island from June 1st through 3rd. The tournament will showcase a field of the West Coast's best bass fishing pros and Strike King co-anglers, casting for a top prize package of up to $75,000 in the pro division and a new Phoenix 518 Pro boat with a 115 horsepower Mercury onboard motor in the co-angler division, and valuable points to qualify for the 2002 Toyota Series Championship in November. Anglers will launch each day at 6 a.m. from Russo's Marina, and that's at 3995 Willow Road in Bethel Island. Weigh-ins will also be held at that same location beginning at 2 p.m. each day, and if you're not really interested in going out to the water, just stream it. You can follow the event live online through the MLF Live, and broadcasts will be broadcast daily at MajorLeagueFishing.com.
I didn't even realize that Major League Fishing was a thing, but I am here for it. I love it. I grew up fishing with my dad, and I don't think that we ever caught anything that would be considered fishing boat winning worthy, but it was just always a good time. And my husband and I have been able to pass that on to our kids, and it's nice. It's a nice day to spend out on the water and not really doing much, maybe catching a few fish.
And for people looking to get into a sport, I mean, there's lots of sports where you can earn a lot of money, but this is one that I think is, if you know how to fish, $75,000 is up for grabs. So maybe I should go buy a fishing pole and
there you go.
Hone my skills.
I know, right? $75,000. That's, I mean, between that and the fishing boat, right? Yeah, I'm impressed.
Big time competition. Let's hope the fish are biting. We got some Antioch High School football news this week. Brett Dudley, who's been on the sidelines as an assistant coach for about 11 years, is going to be taking over the program for Coach John Lucido. John Lucido has been the head coach since 2010, and Dudley is a familiar face around Antioch High School. He's a PE teacher there, and he's been the assistant football coach and offensive coordinator since 2011, and he's also the school's athletic director. So this should be a smooth transition for the school, and let's hope good things are ahead for Antioch, because they're on the rise, and our listeners were a little peeved that I don't talk more about Antioch High School. So here's your Antioch shout out, and let's hope good things are ahead for Antioch High School football.
Moving back into our top stories for this week, a 51-year-old man was fatally shot in Oakley Thursday night, May 19th, in a suspected case of self-defense, police said. Officers dispatched to the 200 block of West Cypress Road on reports of a shooting found the man suffering from a single gunshot wound on the driveway of a home, police said. Oakley police and firefighters attended to the male, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The man was identified as Ruben Santos Ortiz Jr. of Stockton. Authorities say the unidentified 74-year-old female resident of the home has an elder abuse restraining order against the deceased male, and there is a history of physical violence between them. Another act of physical violence occurred, which led the female to shoot the male in self-defense, police said. Due to this being a self-defense shooting and absent any other crimes committed by the female, she was not booked, police said in a statement. Anyone with information on the shooting is encouraged to call the Oakley Police Department at 924-625-8855 or 925-625-8060. In Antioch, one man was killed and another sustained a gunshot wound when the pair exchanged gunfire during a robbery attempt on May 20th. Officers were dispatched to the 2100 block of Lemon Tree Way at 3:30 a.m. on reports that a man had been shot, according to a statement released later the same day. When police arrived, they discovered 2 men had been shot. Through interviews and evidence located at the scene, it was determined that a 37-year-old male attempted to force a 29-year-old resident into their apartment in order to rob him, the press release stated. The victim was able to arm himself with a firearm and was able to shoot the suspect. The suspect returned fire, striking the victim in the lower body. Further details, including the identities of both men, were not released. So I'm just going to pause for a minute and say, I know we were talking about gun control and gun laws earlier and how there are uses, for guns if you choose to have them in your home. And I think this right here, it shows, yes, arm yourself for personal protection if you need to.
Well, I think it all goes back to common sense gun laws, right? I mean, guns do have a purpose in society, but there just needs to be restrictions and limitations on who can have them and what ones are even really in society, I believe.
Sadly, 4 dogs died in a fire sparked by an air conditioning unit that caught fire at Dirty Dog Canine Retreat Boarding and Daycare Center on Brentwood Boulevard in Brentwood on Thursday night, May 19th. It appears that an air conditioning unit in one of the buildings at Dirty Dog Canine Retreat caught fire, said Brentwood Police Lieutenant Mark Lawrence. The fire then spread to the building, catching it on fire as well. East Contra Costa Fire Protection District crews extinguished the fire quickly after it began at about 10 p.m., preventing it from spreading to surrounding buildings. 15 other dogs at the facility at the time were accounted for and are in good condition, police said. Dirty Dog Canine Retreat Boarding and Daycare Center released the following statement on its Facebook page. Quote, "Most of you have heard about the fire that started last night in one of our boarding buildings that resulted in loss of life. The families of the canines who are lost are devastated. Our staff is devastated and our family is devastated. Please pray for all involved, especially the families of the dogs who are gone." End quote. To read the business's complete statement, please visit www.facebook.com/dirty, DERTY, dog. Anyone with information about the fire is encouraged to call the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District at 925-634-3400. So this was super sad. And I know it's not the first time that this business has had issues with dogs being killed, sadly. And I know after this happened, a lot of people they had a lot to say about it. And then other people stuck up for the business saying, these people love animals. They love what they do. They don't make a lot of money, but they do what they can to keep this facility going. So I'm sure they're devastated, and I'm sure the owners are devastated. Any loss of life, a pet, it's like a family member. So definitely my thoughts go out to everybody in this situation. Our top story for today, the Contra Costa District Attorney announced the charges brought against Antioch Mayor Lamar Thorpe following his March 19th arrest. Antioch Mayor Lamar Thorpe was charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of driving under the influence, DUI, of alcohol on April 1st, 2022, the press release stated. According to the press release, the district attorney's office received a referral from the California Highway Patrol on March 23rd on 2 violations of California Vehicle Code. Thorpe was pulled over by CHP on Interstate 680 in Concord on March 19th at 1:15 a.m., according to the agency's statement later that day. Officers conducted a DUI investigation, and Thorpe was arrested for suspected driving under the influence of alcohol, the agency said. The legal blood alcohol level for a DUI arrest in California is .08 or higher. Following the incident, Thorpe released a recorded statement on his Facebook page on March 20th, in which he claimed to take full responsibility, apologized for his lapse of judgment, and asked for forgiveness. The statement from the DA's office came one day after spokesperson for Mary Knox, the only candidate running against incumbent DA Diana Becton, released a statement that said the DA had not brought any charges against Thorpe. It has now been more than 60 days since it was reported that Mayor Lamar Thorpe was arrested for a DUI, and yet we have seen no action come from the DA's office, said Jamie Patton, spokeswoman for Mary Knox. Everyone wants to see their district attorney act with integrity and fairness, regardless of the person's position of power or influence. Yet DA Diane Becton met with Lamar Thorpe personally following the incident, and we continue to see no action to prosecute. We believe DA Diane Becton must address this glaring dereliction of duty and take action on this rapidly aging case. Ted Azrogadu, the public information officer to the district attorney, explained why the department had not publicly released information regarding the charges. Azrogadu said, "To maintain fairness, it is imperative that investigative files are not disclosed to the public before the defendant has a chance to appear in court. Every individual has a right to speedy trial with an impartial jury or judge. Protecting those rights means safeguarding evidence from public disclosure. Leaking investigative evidence prior to a trial can lead to an environment where false allegations and rush-to-judgment public opinion can negatively affect an individual's right to a fair trial in Contra Costa County." In response to the May 20th press release by the district attorney's office, Patton said in an email that no formal charges against Thorpe appear on the Contra Costa Superior Court's website. At press time, the online portal was experiencing technical difficulties. Patton also released a May 17th letter from Deputy District Attorney Sophia Knopp that identifies the case as under investigation. Knopp said, "In accordance with the Public Records Act, the requested documents investigative file are exempt from disclosure. This exemption applies to records that concern investigations undertaken for the purpose of determining whether a violation of the law may have occurred." The letter also said, "Additionally, I have determined that there are no documents in either the physical or electronic file which constitute correspondence between Lamar Thorpe and the district attorney's office regarding this case." Although Knox works in the office of the district attorney, she does not handle DUI prosecutions, as Ragadu stated in his email, and would not have knowledge regarding charges brought against Thorpe as a result. Mary Knox's assignment is in the Elder Abuse Unit at the DA's office, as Ragadu said. She is not a manager, supervisor, or a filer for DUI prosecutions, which means she is not involved with misdemeanor DUI prosecutions. Those prosecutions arise out of a separate unit, the misdemeanor trial team, a team that works out of a different office from where Mary works. So charges have been brought, and it really just goes back to call an Uber, call a Lyft, call a friend. I know in his initial statement, Mayor Thorpe said he didn't feel impaired, but if you've been drinking, even if it was with dinner, if it was heavy, if they were more alcoholic drinks, just better safe than sorry. You're putting people at risk, man.
Yeah, I always say that, anytime anyone gets charged with a DUI and something worse doesn't happen during the incident, like you get into an accident or something, you're pretty lucky. So at the end of the day, let's hope that he takes his consequences and learns from his mistake.
I 100% hope that he's held accountable and doesn't get off lighter than he should just because he is the mayor. All right, so this weekend is Memorial Day, and we have a few things on the calendar for Memorial Day ceremonies. The first two are being held on Saturday, May 28th. A Memorial Day ceremony will be held in Oakley at Oakley Civic Center Amphitheater, which is located at 3231 Main Street, and that will take place at 10:30 a.m. And then also, Union Cemetery will host a Memorial Day ceremony from 9 to 11 a.m. at 1545 Brentwood Boulevard, right here in Brentwood. And then on Monday, May 30th, there are two additional events. The Bay Point Community All-in-One Incorporated is hosting its free annual Memorial Day Parade on Monday, May 30th in front of the Ambrose Recreational and Park Districts at 3105 Willow Pass Road in Bay Point. The event will run from 9 a.m. to noon and will honor the men and women who served in the U.S. military. Also on Monday, an Antioch Memorial Day ceremony will begin with a procession from the Veterans Memorial at the foot of L Street at 9 a.m. and arrive at the Oakview Memorial Park at 2500 East 18th Street for the ceremony at 10 a.m. So if you're looking for something to do in memoriam for our soldiers that have lost their lives, any one of these events would be a great opportunity. I personally have been to the Union Cemetery one. They typically have speakers and a band plays. I don't know if it'll look any different this year. What are your plans this weekend, Kyle?
I don't really have any plans, so I'm going to just sit back and relax.
Sounds like a good one. A good long weekend. Although there's never, right?
Exactly.
Relax. No. Hopefully everybody out there has a fantastic weekend. That is it for today's episode of Clocked In with the Press. We definitely appreciate you taking the time to listen in, and we look forward to speaking with you in future episodes. If you would like to read more news stories of East Contra Costa County, you can do so through our website at www.thepress.net or through our Twitter and Instagram at PressClockedIn. Be sure to tune in again next week for all your local news and sports highlights. We'll also be speaking with Adventure Therapy founder Lauren Huffmaster, so check back for that. That will be next week as well. Contact us with your thoughts on this episode or any other before it by emailing podcasts@brentwoodpress.com. Thanks for listening, and we will speak with you all next time. This is Melissa.
And Kyle. Clocking out.
Once again, I'd like to thank this week's sponsor, Bill Brandt Ford, located at 8100 Brentwood Boulevard. Whether you're looking to buy a new Ford, a used Ford, or get some work done on your Ford, you want Bill Brandt Ford. Give them a call today at 925-634-3551. That number again is 925-634-3551. Or visit them online at BillBrandtFord.com. That's Bill Brandt, BRANDT Ford.com.